So for today, I'm going to be doing something different. Instead of reviewing something new, and, well, relatively new, I'm usually rather late to the party, as they say, we are going to be reviewing an older cartoon. One from 2010, actually. Genndy Tartakovsky's Sym-bionic Titan. You know, I feel like I missed out on a lot of cartoons because of my parents' strict, only watch Christian cartoon programming. I will never forget you, Story Keepers. That or Star Wars. I did watch Clone Wars, which actually was airing at the same time as this. I can tell because I see that little air thing flying along the bottom. Yeah, that's you. And I could never forget it. The show was created by Genndy Tartakovsky, Brian Andrews, and Paul Rudish, and was directed by Genndy Tartakovsky.
You know, the guy behind Samurai Jack and Dexter's Laboratory.
That Genndy Tartakovsky. The animation was done by Orphanage Animation Studio, and everything else was handled by Cartoon Network Studio. In 2009, it got a preview at San Diego's Comic-Con, and in 2010, September 17th, it went on to air its first episode and ended on April 6, 2011. It only had one season. I actually found this show while searching through Cartoon Network's Wikipedia page, viewing at all the cartoons that they have made, because I didn't watch cartoons from the 2000s. I mean, I have seen Teen Titans, don't get me wrong. I have watched the more notable ones. But yeah, I felt like I've missed out, and I definitely want to go back and look at these older cartoons. So I'm probably going to make a video or two about older cartoons here in the future. And with that out of the way, let's get into that meat and potatoes. I love me some meat and potatoes. So, what's our set pieces? Where is this taking place? Well, it's actually pretty basic. We've got princess leave planet, go Earth, bring people, fit in, disguise, whatnot have you. Pretty straightforward, kind of cliche, but you know, I think it works really well with the way they've done everything and setting it up and whatnot. Jeez Louise, that was a run-on sentence. Basically, they just took something that doesn't seem to have that much promise and actually doing something pretty cool with it. The writing department really did shine through and kind of took the setting in. You know, it's just a setting. You can do good things with practically any setting. Medieval, fantasy, sci-fi, whatever. You can do good with it as long as you're a good writer. The only thing I don't really like about this setting, though, is it just feels kind of like another high school thing. But, you know, the writing is good and makes up for it. But I still don't like high schools. I'm a biased homeschooler who's only seen anime high schools. I really do like the art in this show. The art direction looks very good. I do enjoy the Genndy flair. You know, I feel like this is just a superior Samurai Jack in the sense that it's Genndy's style, but more refined and makes more sense. I never really could get into Samurai Jack's style, but this one, it just feels like it's more, I want to say mainstream, and that actually kind of helps it. Did I just say mainstream was good? Fliss, you're disgusting. It's also got a kind of dark tone to it. Really helps set the mood for the kind of atmosphere that they're going for. It's one of the key players, and they did it well. You can feel the dark broodiness inside you in those Lance episodes. Oh, and I love the animation. It's really good. It's fluid, it's solid, it's got really good fight scenes. I can feel the punch every time somebody gets hit. Constantly good, powerful. And when it's not action, it does a decent job in showing us the right atmosphere. I like some of the lighting that we see and just gives always setting the right mood. It works very well with the art direction to just set that mood, you know? Dang, I wish more shows were animated like this. The only thing I can think of is Teen Titans. I miss action cartoons. They had really good animation. The new stuff like She-Ra isn't really cutting it for me. Also, all the angles that we see in those fight scenes are all good.
Yes, I do see some bad angles here and there, but it's nothing to yell about.
And the voice acting is okay. I mean, there's nothing super special about it. I mean, we got some good talent up there like Tara Strong, but, you know, they're only as good as their voice director, and he was okay. There was only one thing that bugged me about it.
I always heard Twilight sparkle when Ilana spoke, and it drove me nuts.
But otherwise, she does well with the role. Now we review the character writing. Let's start with my personal favorite, Lance. Wait, is his last name Lunas? Did we actually learn his real name? Let's see here. No? Okay. Well, that's a lame wiki quote. I'm just gonna call him Lance Lunas and make life easier on myself. So Lance is a complete edgelord. Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised at the amount of edge that they threw into this. We got the angsty side, the staring into nothing side, and just the overall dark edge and broody demeanor. And unlike most edgy characters, he's actually not 100% edgy 100% of the time. He's got this kind of aura that says, I'm dissatisfied, but once he gets satisfied, he's perfectly fine. Just a normal, everyday kid. And I like it this way. It feels more realistic to have somebody who's troubled but can be helped, and gets help, and feels better for it. He's also got a pretty strong sense of justice and actually goes out of his way doing vigilante work to see himself satisfied, because dissatisfaction. He gains satisfaction from him doing the right thing. That was probably one of my favorite episodes where he went around doing all that vigilante stuff. It also had some pretty edgy shots in it. God, this show does not hold back. Ilana is the fun, perky, wants everybody to be happy, but is also a naive person. She doesn't quite understand Earth culture, but she's able to adapt, and I see this happen, and it makes me happy to see that she's just not some stupid, naive person, even though in her heart she's a free spirit who's rather naive. It's just, she's not stupid. I've seen way too many ditzy, stupid characters. Not to say ditzy, stupid characters are a bad idea, it's just they shouldn't be put into main lead roles without actually maturing. Starverse actually did that pretty well. I honestly expected Ilana to be a Mary Sue. With the current situation that she's in, bad writers just love to take this area and make her the savior of all the people, and the person that always gets it right. Well, not always, usually just fail and then later just get this ultimate triumph in a cliche fashion, but that actually doesn't happen here. She does fail, but she does fail a lot, and she's never popular, ever. She doesn't get on the cheerleader squad, she doesn't do anything, she's an outcast. It kind of goes toward those cliche points, but you know, I feel like they never stepped into the true cliche part, and I'm happy for this. I don't like cliches at all. Who does, you know? And then we have Octus. I'm actually kind of surprised that they did stuff with Octus. I thought he was just going to be your average, ordinary robot character that's there to deliver the facts and show everybody the current situation, but they actually made him a character. He goes through this sort of existential arc of whether or not he's an actual person, and I think it was handled very well. I love their verdict, what they settled on. I'll avoid spoiling it for you because it's actually pretty satisfying in my opinion. And he's actually like the only person to have a real girlfriend in the show, like an actual love interest, and I'm like, what? You want to do that with the robot? Okay, I mean, you do you, man. You do you. But now looking back on it, he actually is kind of the facts person there that's always reminding people what the current situation is. But he does have a lot of heart. You know, sometimes I swear he's actually playing his robotness, in quotation marks, to teach people what they're saying is actually wrong. Like in episode 5, I believe, when he's on the freeway. I think that was a genius bit of writing. Well, it could be. I'm probably just trying to spot things that aren't there and scream good writing. And I think the dynamic of the trio works pretty well. It's solidly written and each character adds its own piece to it. Lance being the Lancer, and Ilana being the heart, and Octus being the guy that's there to make sure everything goes along smoothly. You know, they're not really subtle with that heart, body, and mind motif that they were going for in the show. Subtleties for losers. Well, this is where the story starts, so this is where the spoilers start. Go to the time shown on screen to skip
all spoilers. Now that everybody who doesn't want to ride this ride is off the ride, we can start this roller coaster. The show starts off with our main trio landing on Earth and figuring out how to fit in. We watch them get affiliated with Earth and them going to high school. And like I said before, I don't really like high schools. But, the writing is solid, so I can't really complain as long as it's good. Doesn't matter where it takes place. Unless it's My Little Pony. The show's progression is slowly built up, and we learn more and more about these characters, slowly gaining more and more insight. And it's paced very well. There are also some really heavy-hitting episodes with a lot of specific character focus instead of just a balance between the three. Like the backstory episode for Lance, or the swamp episode for Alana, or the existential crisis episode where everybody freezes for Octus. Each one of these is written and paced beautifully, and it really feels powerful. Every emotional beat that they hit, it's straight on the head, drove the nail straight into the plywood and connected the 2x4 to the wall. Ugh, gosh darn it, I'm thinking construction again. My work life gets into my other work life. Anyway, they're just wonderfully executed, and I couldn't wish for anything better. And at the 18 or 17 episode mark, I'm not sure which one it was, we get this really heavy hit changing the story, and we just feel the emotional impact. This to emphasize the emotional impact that it left on us, and it operates like this until the finale. You could feel the emotional impact in the characters by just the change of the story and the way it was paced, and I think that this was a really good idea. And after this, I think they did a really good job of wrapping up the story. It didn't feel rushed and was paced rather nicely, and it had a satisfying end. There is a constant threat throughout the entire series that's prevalent and threatening, and that's what you want from a threat or villain. The Season 1 villain was actually pretty good and convincing in my opinion. Well, other than the fact that he is a little cliche. I still appreciate the fact that he put a constant threat on everyone. The writing always put forward this dark and serious tone that was kind of foreboding, really added to the atmosphere that we're in a serious situation and we need to deal with it. Although it did allow for lightheartedness every so often, and that's what I like about the show. It's got that serious element, but it's not afraid to be happy every so often, finds a good balance between the two. It actually reminds me of Teen Titans in tone a lot. You got the dark, serious stuff, but then you have the lighthearted stuff. It's just Teen Titans had a lot more jokes and humors throughout their entire series. So how would I say the show is as its one season? Well, I'd say it is very good. 8.3 out of 10. I would definitely recommend it to anybody who's into action cartoons. It's never rushed and is paced very thoughtfully and is written extremely well. It only had one season, sadly, and was cancelled. The reason being because it had no toy line. And that really sucks because this is a really good show. It has much promise and I really want to see it come back. I mean, Genndy Tartakovsky got his Samurai Jack back for a season 4 on Adult Swim. I don't see why something could happen similarly for this. He said he is open to continuing it. Though, if I have to end on one thing, I'm just going to say I'm glad they didn't rush it because they only had one season. I'm glad that it was paced well and written just as well. The climax was great at the end and it just felt so satisfying, but then we just don't get the rest of it. That's so sad. Sign the petition to get it back. Anyway, that's all you'll be hearing from me this week. Fliss out. Also subscribe, leave a comment, and all that kind of stuff because, if you like this content, I'm probably not going to continue it if I don't get any kind of support. I feel like I missed out. Don't drink soda before recording.